Okay, so in the last video we created the low poly barrel, which is this one here. We also unwrapped it, and now we have the high poly version, and I've covered this already in some of the previous videos, but to export this out you just select everything, go to export, FBX or OBJ, whichever format you prefer. I use FBX. Selected objects, always turn that on, so if there's any hidden objects in your scene they don't also get dragged in. Geometry, make sure apply modifiers and use modifier render settings is also there, and that way if you have any modifiers on your object, the correct geometry, the thing you're actually seeing in Blender, is going to be transported over, not any low poly versions before subsurface divisions, before bevel modifiers and everything. Obviously if you have any bones, character animation, anything like that, that's all dealt with separately. We don't need to deal with that here, so we don't have to worry about that. So I've already exported out my low and high poly versions, so I'm not going to do that just now. I will go over to Substance Painter, and in this video I just want to give you a really quick overview again of the way I would texture this model. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to do all the texturing on the high poly version, and that way I'll have this high poly hero version that I could use, and I'll basically transfer all those details, the normal map, the roughness map, the metallic map, the diffuse map, all over onto the low poly version, which could be used in a game engine or in a scene where it's in the background where it doesn't have to be shown in high detail. And that way I'll have two versions of the barrel, and I can pick whichever one I prefer to use in whichever scene or program I'm using it in. So this will just take a moment to load up here. So we have the high poly barrel, and I mean already it looks pretty good in here. This viewport's essentially similar to a game engine. It's physically based rendering, so you can see I can move the camera in real time. Everything is pretty fast, everything's pretty fluid in this program. I have all my different materials here. Now this is based on the materials I set up, not the individual object. It just happens that all the individual objects have separate materials. I planned it that way because I find it a lot easier. One thing I wish that Substance Painter actually did was give you the option of using material layers or object layers, but so far it doesn't do that. As far as texture settings, I want to bake a bunch of maps. Now I'm just going to bake them all out, even though I probably won't use some of them. I'm going to make sure I'm using low poly mesh as high poly, because this is the high poly mesh. If I had already went ahead and did some sculpted details on this, then yeah, I would have an even higher poly mesh, maybe something coming in at 10 or so million polys. But I really don't want to go to all that trouble. This section's getting pretty long. Curvature, I want to turn off enable seams. Everything else I think we can leave where it is. Normalization scale we're going to change to full scene. Position on axis, I'm going to change this to y-axis, so the position is determined by up and down. So I can make, for example, a dark mask dirtier at the bottom of the object and at the top, things like that. Let's bake all texture sets. This is going to take quite a while to run through, maybe a few minutes.